Okay, module number 4 is all about engineering drawings. So based on where you're at in the program right now, you've had tech drafting, or you've had it maybe somewhere else if you haven't taken it at WCTC here. And tech drafting is really the rules that are in place for creating the documentation for a part or an assembly to actually be created. And there's a graphical language that you need to know and apply to your drawing so that other people can understand the message you're trying to get across, so that when the parts come together, when they're made, now they're going together and they're going together properly because you did what you were supposed to do. So, so we have a couple of things going on here. So number 1, you're going to have some tutorials out of chapter 8, which is your parametric Creo parametric 9.0 tutorial book. Okay. So we're going to be looking there, and there's going to be a couple tutorial drawings out of there. The second thing that you're going to do is you're going to be creating details for models that you've already created. There's actually in here, we'll take a peek at this because I know most of you always want to kind of know what the assignment's going to look like. So there are 8 drawings that you're going to create. You're going to lay them out in orthographic projection. You're going to put the dimensioning on to the ANSI standard. Okay. And you'll notice that there are 7 of the 8 that have these little stars in front of them because you've created those models already. Actually, it was part of assignment 3. Okay. When we did extrusion. So they probably sound familiar to you, but now you're going to be laying them out, applying orthographic projection, all that kind of stuff, putting dimensions on. The one that you didn't draw yet is the roller stud. Okay, so this one you'll actually have to make the model and then create the drawing for it, and it's in your tech drafting book. So when we kind of get done with things, and we're going to be looking at this, but just know that 7 of the 8 you've already done the model for. This isn't a terribly hard model to do, but that's going to be one that you'll have to reference out there. But I do have for you the guides. Now, for those who didn't have me in tech drafting, you maybe don't know what guides are. So I'm gonna click on a guide. So for the saddle bracket, this is a guide. All right. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. Now, this was the guide that we created in the AutoCAD class. All right. So it has the dimensions in place so that they adhere to the ANSI standards. And what I told students was, please make them match what you see here so that you're getting practice putting dimensions in, in Creo, but then also making sure that you're adhering to the standards and kind of developing good habits. Okay. Because it's not a willy-nilly wild, wild west situation here. It's not like you can just put them wherever you want. There are rules. So these abide by the rules. Now, if you decide to do it a little different, I'm open to that. It doesn't have to be perfect. All right. You don't have to do it exactly the way I did it, but you have to be able to show me where in the standard in chapter 11 in your tech drafting textbook. So chapter 11, your tech drafting textbook, which is this one right here. Okay. Chapter 11 in that textbook was the dimensioning chapter. So if you find a place where you're like, I think I'm going to do it like this, that's fine. And you can show me, yeah, that's on, page blah, blah, blah. And it's there, that's fine. But if you just, decide to do the dimensioning however you wish, then you run the risk of me having the nasty note. It's really not a nasty note. I think it's nice, but I might have to say, you're going to have to go back and look at the videos. Okay. Because I'm going to be kind of letting you in on that. So, so be sure, or go back and compare to the guides. Because if there's like 6 things on a drawing and you didn't bother looking at the guide or chapter 11, then I'm not going to bother trying to identify everything that's in there because that takes a long time. Okay. So I'm going to refer back to the guide or the videos if I see something that's, like glaringly you missed. Okay. So, so these are out there for you. So they're for each one. Oopsie, they're for each one of those drawings. So if we go to, the application drawings. So if we go to the application drawings, I have all 8 guides here for you to use when you're creating your drawing so that you know what you're supposed to be aspiring to, we'll say. Okay. So something super close to that. All right. So you might say, yeah, you're giving us the answers, but you still have to create it all in Creo. It's not like it magically appears. Okay. So, so we'll talk about how you're going to do that. The other thing that I have on here is a couple of things. I have a note up here. After you've watched all the lectures and or been here for them, then perform the following assignment. Okay. And the reason I'm saying that is because I want to make sure that you have kind of the practice that you need in order to be able to do this and to be able to do it correctly. Okay, I'm going to be sharing some things along the way with you that are going to be required that you have to do. Additionally, and I was so mad, I've been working on this over the weekend, and I know I'm close, but I couldn't get the drawing borders to work the way they're supposed to. It's kind of a process. If you've never done it before, but it's kind of a process to get the drawing borders to work with your, your own logo and stuff like that. So you'll notice that I have a statement here: use the plain A-size borders for your work. Okay, so there won't really be, and I'll show you what that's going to be in our lecture. So the borders, we will get to them. I'm perfecting them. I'm trying to get them to, be the way they're supposed to, but I didn't get the WCTC ones to work just yet. So just bear with me for a little bit. So we're just going to instead use one of the kind of the plain A-size border that Creo provides. Okay, and that's what we're going to be doing for the work here. So border wise, it's going to look different from what you actually put in. I also put in here, if you don't follow directions, points will be deducted, and then also abiding by the NC standard. So this is your assignment, and I don't mind if you start looking there already, but just know that the stuff that I'm going to be going over is going to be specific to what I'm expecting for you to do or how to do it when you do this assignment. And if you're going to just jump to the homework and not listen while I'm going through things, I'm going to refer you back to the lecture. Okay, not being a jerk about it. I'm trying not to be, but I also want to make sure that you're not trying to get the assignment done while I'm explaining how to do it or how to, get to the functions that you need to. All right. So, let me go back a level. You'll also notice that in addition to the tutorials, there's 2 tutorial drawings. There's also an assignment 8 to be determined. This is going to be not a drawing assignment, but it's going to be more kind of a review of the rules. I haven't gotten it populated out there yet, so within the next day or two, that will be there. So by the time we meet the next time Thursday, I'll have that out there, and it'll just be a nice way for you to refresh yourself on the rules that you need to apply as you're putting these dimensions in place. Okay. So let's, I guess, get into things. I already have Creo open. So I have Creo open. I have my working directory set up. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that right now. And then I'm also going to go underneath our camera, and we're going to start at the beginning of lesson number 8 or chapter 8 in our Creo book. Okay. Now, this is a tutorial book. So what the demonstration that I'm going to do today is going to be more in the spirit of, this is how you're going to work through it, but you will benefit immensely by going through and reading and doing this step by step the way that they have you doing it. Okay. And the reason is because they explain all the ribbons and all the menus and all the different things that you're going to go into. I'd have to read this to you to give you all that information. So that's why you'll notice that I have a little statement in there. Before you start this assignment, make sure that you go through the tutorial. It's not just about, uploading your screenshot, okay, just so that you can get it in. Creo will be easier to use if you take the time and read this. And that's why I'm choosing this chapter out of the book, because I think they actually do a really good job at this. All right. So, my expectation is that you're going to go back over and you are going to walk through this step by step. Okay. And again, if you haven't done tutorial books before, this particular chapter is done really well. And I think he writes in a way that is easily understood, and it's kind of conversational. So it's not hard to get through at all, but it has some really good points, and it helps to kind of explain things. Okay. So if you're ever frustrated with Creo, a step like this is going to help you. Okay. So they kind of like organize the chapter here. And then what you do need to do is at the beginning here, they want you to download these 3 files. Okay. Now I'm not going to do it right now because this isn't part of what I'm going to demo tonight, but this is part of what you should do. And I have these already done for you. I have these here for you in the learning plan. Okay. So you'll notice that these 3 files are downloadable for you. You need to put those in your working directory. Okay. Now remember, at the beginning of Creo, I said, don't try to separate out your working directory into module 1 or week 1 and week 2 and week 3, because especially when it comes to drawing borders that we're going to be using here, they need to be in the same directory as your model. Your model needs to be in the same directory as the drawing and the drawing format and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that's going to be part of what they go over here in the beginning. Okay. So we're gonna kind of slide by that. Not because I don't think it's important. This is something that's expected of you to do so that you can understand these things. So by pulling those things up and downloading those and walking through the tutorial here in these first pages, you're going to learn a lot about the interface and how these parts all work together. If you choose not to do it, that's your choice. All right. I don't have this as part of a graded assignment. I'm just telling you that it's an important step that you should take if you want to have your dimensioning go easier and more smoothly, truly. Okay. So I'm going to let you do that. Here's a nice page on 8.4 where it talks about all the different kind of like the interface that you're going to see and how it's going to be different. Okay. When you start to create a drawing, the ribbons are going to change on the top. Okay. And that's what they do a great job of explaining here for you. They also show you kind of a simple drawing, and this is going to be the one that's going to be one that you pull up in those drawings that you download. Okay, you're going to be pulling this up, and they're, you know, talking about the different elements here, so that as they're referencing, for instance, the general view, you know that that's the isometric view. Okay. Now over on page 8-5, there's something important that happens when we go from the part model mode to part drawing mode. Your mouse acts a little different. Okay. And what happens is your middle mouse button now is going to be a pan. It's not going to be moving the model around because now you're on a drawing. Okay. So it's kind of like AutoCAD. If you remember, when you use that middle mouse button and you push it down and you just move, it's going to pan the drawing now when we're in the drawing mode. Okay. So you don't have to do shift middle mouse button. If you do shift middle mouse button, it'll work the same way, but you don't have to anymore. And that's kind of the big deal here. Okay. With the middle mouse button. So that does change. Okay. They talk about the drawing ribbon and how there's different tabs up there. One is called layout, table, annotate. There is sketch, and then there's review. Okay. They're the most popular ones that you're going to see, and they kind of do a little bit of an overview on each one of those. Take time to read that. Okay. They're going to talk about shown and created dimensions. Shown and created dimensions. So we're going to see this when we go to Creo and we pull in a drawing. Or when we pull in the dimensions that are going to be pulled in are going to be based on how you generated your model. Okay. So when you generate your model, it kind of gives you, it gives you that, that information that you are supposed to be thinking about your dimensioning that early. Okay. You're not just creating a model to create a model to make it look good. You're creating a model so that when your dimensions come in, they work for you. Okay. Somebody asked earlier, is Creo going to do a lot of this for us? Oh, it can. It can simplify it a lot for you, but there still will be cleanup of the dimensions that you're going to have to do. You're going to find out. But the automation of drawing the views, yes, Creo will take care of that for you. The dimensioning, you're smarter than Creo. Okay. But you can do yourself a favor by, if you know how you're going to be dimensioning, it's going to pull its primary dimensions, its first dimensions from the actual model. And those are called the shown. Now, created dimensions, if there's a dimension that didn't come through, or if you're like, oh crap, I didn't do the dimensioning the correct way, you can always add it to the drawing. You don't have to redo the whole model and go back. You can add drawing or dimensions, and those are called created dimensions. So it talks about the difference between those two here. Okay. Some dimension property types of things, and we'll be hitting those. It'll make more sense when we go through. And then exploring associativity. Okay. When you pull up that drawing, it's going to have you do some changes to it here. And in the actual drawing itself. So you're going to have a model and you're going to have a drawing, and you'll see this happen in just a little bit. And we'll actually experiment with this a little bit too. But what you can do is, let's say you're in the drawing mode and you're like, oh crap, I want that to be 1.75, not 2.75. I did that wrong on the model, okay? You can change it on the drawing by double clicking that dimension, changing it to what you want it to be, regenerating it, and it automatically updates in the model as well. That's what associativity is. That's the power of parametric software, whether it's Creo, SolidWorks, Inventor, NX, all of them do this. And that's what people use. Okay. It makes it so much easier. In AutoCAD, if something changed on the drawing, now, not that you made a model, but if you had it used in a number of different assemblies, guess what? You would have changed it in each one of those assemblies separately. Okay. I know we didn't get to do that in tech drafting, but when you have common parts that are used in multiple assemblies, you're manually going in and changing. This updates all of it at the same time. It's like amazing. Okay. So, and then the same thing can happen in the opposite direction. If you change something on the model, guess what automatically updates? Your drawing. Now that can work for you and it can also work against you. So you have to be careful with that. Okay. Because again, if they're used in multiple places and it's going to work in one place, but not in the three others, now you've got to just create a new part number and blah, 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 blah. Okay. But it's very powerful. It's very powerful. So take time. So this is kind of like that pre-work that my expectation is that you're doing it. And if you want to get good at Creo, if you are enjoying Creo, yes, this isn't an assignment, but it is to your benefit to go through it and read it and go step by step. Okay. All right. All right. So now we're going to be creating the L bracket. Okay. We're going to be creating L bracket. A very simple part, very simple part. But we have to think about it. Remember when I said earlier, when we put dimensions on or the views that we choose, they are really all kind of figured out in the model already. Okay. And when we look at this part, my instinct, and I actually did this when I did it the first, I'm like, I'll just go through this. And I drew up my model. But then when I got to laying out the drawing on page 822, notice the views that we have here. What is the plane that we're always picking when we go into Creo and we start an extrude or a revolve? What plane are we like always picking? Go ahead. The front all the time, right? Okay. And what I did the first time that I went through this, and then I'm like, yeah. Now you can fix it, but it's to your benefit when you create your model. If you're already thinking about what are the views that I'm anticipating using, you can do yourself another favor by not having to change things around. Okay, efficiency. So when I did it the first time, guess which view I did on the front plane? Which one would you do on the front plane? The right. That one right there, exactly. That's how I set it up originally. And I had this one on my front plane. So when this came in, this was over here. I had a tipped top view, and then I had a back view over on the right side. Now, I can change that. I can push that around, but it's an extra step that I would have to do. So if you're thinking ahead and you're going to use the power of the parametrics that are here and the automations that can occur, you can help yourself out. So when we create this bracket this time, which plane are we going to create that profile on? The right side, so that when we pull it in, my front is automatically in the software as a front view on the front plane, and then the top is corresponding. Now again, don't get like all like, oh crap, I did that wrong and it's not going to be right. There are ways that you can push it around. It's not a big deal. All right, but again, this is kind of like, if you know how this is all associated, that's what we're going to do. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create our bracket. Here are the dimensions, but this time we're going to look at it from the right side view so that it pulls in, so that the front view is assigned according to the front plane. So what I'm going to do is, guess what? I don't need to do this with you anymore. You guys should be able to make this part. We are going to, I'm going to stop the video and I am going to have you guys create this part. I'm going to give you, how long do you think it would take you to create this part? I'm going to give you 10 minutes. All right. I'll check in 10 minutes and see how you guys are doing. Now, what you are going to want to do is try to duplicate the scheme that you have here, thinking in terms of, and if you want to peek ahead and look at page 822 to see how it's dimensioned, those are going to be the dimensions that you're going to want to use when you create your model. Okay. I'm going to stop the recording and we will be back, or pause the recording. So resume recording. Okay, so now that we have our part drawn, what we need to do, and they actually do it in the book here as well, we need to make sure that our units are all set. Okay, by default, Creo is going to have the dimensions come in, you know, in English units. So let's go in and check to see where we're at. So to check the units here, and this is actually something that's really nice about Creo. We're going to go in under file and then prepare. You have to be in, like, you have to have an extrude or a part like created here. If you try to do it in Sketch, if you realize it in your sketch mode, it's not going to have prepare available until you actually have like a part. So we're going to go to model properties and we're going to go to units, and over on the right hand side, it says change. Okay. So right now it's in inch and pounds, and we want to go to the bottom and go to millimeter newtons. Okay. And we want to say set. Now it's going to ask you this question here. And this is what's so nice about Creo. It says, do you want to convert your dimensions where a 1 will become 25.4? No, we actually want, because we drew it, I drew mine, you know, the 50, the 10, the 20, we want that to be a millimeter. So you want it to interpret it so that 1 becomes 1. All right, so 1 or 50 becomes 50 millimeters. All right, that's the one. So make sure you check that one and then say, okay. And then you should be able to hit close. And now just double check that your units say millimeter Newton seconds. And if so, you can hit close here and voila, we're done. But don't forget to save at this point. Otherwise it's not gonna take it. So do a file, save, and now you're all set. Okay. Any questions about that? And you can do that anytime on any one of the drawings. It's kind of one of the beautiful things about Creo. And it does walk you through that process on pages 8-10 and then through 8-13. Okay, so let's go underneath and find where we're at in the book here. So we created our part. We changed our part units. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to start to create a drawing. Okay. So our model is going to kind of be out by itself as just a model. So if we go into the directory, there's going to be a .prt drawing, okay, or a .prt file, okay, and that's always going to be our model, just the model. Now what we're going to create off of this is going to be a DWG. They are not going to be in the same file, but they're associated. So your part file has to be in the same directory as our drawing file, okay? Additionally, our format, if you're going to use a special border, it has to be in that directory as well. And that's why at the beginning of Creo, I said, don't try to make all these folders inside. I know some of you are good at that organization, and that's wonderful. But for Creo, we're just dumping everything in, and then we're going to pick what we need when we need it, okay? So what we're going to do now is we're going to create this drawing. So to do that, now you don't have to have the drawing up, but or the model up. We happen to have just created the model. Okay. So we don't need to close this. We're simply going to go up to File, New. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on Drawing. And notice that our menu kind of changed here. All right. Now what we want to do is we want to keep the Use Default Template, but we want to click on Use the Drawing Model file name as the actual file name here. That way, your drawing's going to have the same base file name as your model. So they'll always kind of match up, okay? You can change it if you wanted to, okay? But it's most typical to keep those the same. Then we're going to hit OK. Another menu comes up. This is where it shows you what the default model is that you're going to be grabbing. Now, if you wanted to use a different drawing, so for instance, if you came into Creo and you didn't have any models selected at all, you could start a new drawing file, and then here you could browse to the model that you actually want to use. Okay, so it doesn't have to be open. Ours happens to be open because we just created it. Okay, so ours is there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a template. So we're going to use one of Creo's templates here, and we're just going to use a regular A drawing. That's it. That's it. Now, like I told you, I'm working on getting the WCT one, so they're WCTC one, so they're a little bit more fancy and they're kind of the standard border. I just couldn't get it working. There's something that's not quite right. I need a little bit more time to work on it. You would click here and you would hit browse, and then you would go to it, all right, where it would be. So just so that you know, but we're going to keep it simple for the first times through here. So, okay. And what you're going to notice is, well, you tell me what you notice. Well, first of all, our border is just plain. This is the border you're going to use for this assignment. Okay. We're not going to do anything fancy. We're going to not worry about the title block. We just want to get it so it's on a piece of paper. We're going to lay it out and put our dimensions on. That's it. Okay. So this is the border you're using, just so you know. But what do you notice about what you see here? All the views are automatically generated, right? And do you also notice something about, as we had kind of talked through earlier, see how that right side view, we picked it on the right plane. It is going to be your right view. You guys had this all come in just like this, right? Oh, you didn't? Some people did, some people, if it didn't, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Some people didn't. Okay. It kind of depends on what the settings are on your computer, but that's okay. All right. Now, if this didn't come up, how about online? Are you guys saying, which template did you use? Oh, never mind. Yes, Emily said it's an orthographic projection. Yes, absolutely. Now, if this didn't come up for you, don't fret. It's okay. All right. Because all I'm going to do is I'm going to delete mine right now. Don't delete yours if it came up. Okay. What we're going to do is you are going to go into, notice that we are on our layout ribbon. Lex, do you have a border around? Yeah. You have that. Okay. So it's just blank right now, right? Anybody who's just blank. Okay. Lucas too. All you're going to do is you're on this layout. That's going to be the standard or the default that it goes into. You're going to go to, you're going to go to general view, no combined state, and you're going to hit okay. And we are going to click right about here. Let me think. Right about here with our front view, because you want to grab the front view. And what we're going to do is it's going to say what the view type is. Instead of that view that came in, we want to select the front view. Okay, right here. And we're going to say apply. Okay. You're also going to notice right now that it's a shaded view, right? Some of you may have had that already, I'm not sure. But where you can change that is going to be in view display. And we're simply going to go to hidden. Okay. And we're going to hit apply, and you're going to notice it does that. So depending on, again, your settings, that's going to do that. Okay. So again, if you guys want to, you know, kind of look at this, you just could go to general view, and then you can add it. Now, I want to now add a view that's projected from this, so it's in line with it. Okay. So then I'm going to select that view that I just placed, and there's going to be a projection view above here. I'm going to click that. And now notice when I come down in here, I can go above it. I haven't clicked yet, but then I'm going to simply place it by clicking, left clicking. And then I'm going to reselect that view again. Whoopsie. Reselect that view again, go to projection view. And this time I'm going to go to the right so I can get my right side view. There it is. Okay. Now, again, these are the shaded views that I don't want. So I'm going to click here, left click, and then I'm going to hit Control, hold, and left click again, and go into edit definition or properties. And that same dialog box is going to come up, drawing views. Okay. And I'm going to I want to kind of see what's going on here. So instead of following the environment, I want to go to hidden for the display type. And then I want to go to, this is tangent edges. I don't want those shown. I want those none. And then I'm going to hit apply, and then okay. Did that work for you, Lex and Lucas, or whoever didn't have them?
Yeah, well, mine came down the wrong side.
Oh, well, so do you know which one it is now? Like which view? So what you can do, if you're like, they came in wrong, all you got to do is, okay, let's say I want to start over. I'm going to click on that, left click, I'm going to hit delete. Yes. Okay. And they all go away. So then what you can do is you can go back in to general view, no combined state, and you're gonna click here. And now if you know what view it is, if it's not gonna be the front view, click it. Okay, that's all that you have to do. So maybe it's your right side view or your left side view, whatever it might be. And then you can go through and you can apply. Corinne. Oh, a right click. Yes, you can do it there as well. So if you right click on the view, then you can switch it to whatever view you want it to be in. Oh, that's a good idea too. Yep. And then none, and then apply. Okay. And then select this, project. I'm going to project up. And then I'm going to select it again and project over to the right. And then I'm going to select both of those. So Creo, if you want to select multiples, it's always holding the control key. I'm going to grab those two. And let's see. This one, that one, edit definition. And then I want it to be no hidden and none. Okay. So does everybody have 3 views up? Their proper front view, proper top view, and proper right side, whether it came in automatically or if you did it through that process we did twice. Let me see, there's a message here now. How can I rotate a view? You can't, because it's tied to the projection, Jeff. So what you have to do is you have to get your view, the correct view in the right place first, and then project it up and over, because it's in projection. So you can't go over here and like rotate a view because it's playing off of the projection, for instance, on my front view. Does that make sense? So if you needed to start over, you can left click it and then just hit your delete key. And then you can go back to general view, place your first view, and then project off of those. Okay. Is everybody kind of here so far? Okay. The views. Okay, so we're here. Now, if we go underneath where we're at. Now, again, remember, I'm telling you, I'm hitting the highlights here. I want you to go back through this and kind of take it, step by step. You'll notice that this is the view that they have. Okay. And up in the corner here, they've got an isometric. Okay. So to add an isometric, go back to Creo. To add an isometric, we are just going to add another view here. So we can say general view, no combined state. Okay. And we're just going to left click where we want that view to be. So right about there. Okay. Now, right now it's in a shaded view, but it doesn't go with the rest of our views here. Some people like the shaded view. I'm not opposed to it as long as it's only up in your isometric. So if you like the shaded view and you want it there, that's totally fine. Do not have any of the views that are an orthographic projection ever solid, okay, or shaded. So then if I want to, I can go to view display and I can either say follow environment. And in this case, they followed with it being in a solid, but you can say no hidden. And then we're going to also hit none for the tangent edges and then apply. Okay. So I prefer this. All right. But if you leave it as shaded and you like that, there's no standard that says you can't do that. Now, the tangent edges, what did that do? If I go back to the default and I say apply, notice it adds those tangent edges where we have those radiuses, okay? I don't like them. So I think it looks better with none, okay? So that's what that does.
Like
you'll see that
line.
pop into your orthographic projected views as well. Those you do need to turn off. Those are extra lines that are not needed, okay? All right, we're going to hit okay for right now. Now, as we look underneath on page 816, notice that these views are a little bit bigger, okay? We can adjust the scale of those views in Creo. So I'm going to show you how to do that, okay? Now, we can either do it inside of those views that we just saw, or right down here in the bottom left-hand corner in a really tiny spot, it says, scale is equal to, okay? And mine says 0.5. Yours is probably 0.5 as well. If you double click on this, it goes into text editing mode and we can make this bigger, okay? So, I mean, try, let's say 0.75 and see how much bigger that gets. And that gets bigger, okay? It kind of fills up the border a little bit nicer. It's good to stick with increments that are on like the fractional state, but they don't have to, just so that you know, all right? So I'm gonna leave it at 0.75 here. And now we may want to move our views a little bit so that they're maybe a little bit more spaced apart, because mine right here, these two are kind of close together. So to do that right now, if you try to move these in any way, shape, or form, it's not going to let you move them, because up in the upper left-hand corner of that layout tab, you'll notice that it says lock view movement. Okay. And right now it's locked. If it's gray, it's locked. So if you uncheck that, now you can click on the view. Oopsie, double click the view. Sorry. Double click the view, and then you'll get this box where you can move it. You can just hold and drag, do the same thing down here, just single click it, hold and drag, and then bring it down a little bit just to create a little bit more movement or a little bit more room between. Okay. Any questions on that? The next thing that I want to adjust is that isometric up in the corner here, it's kind of big now. All right. And it's outside of its area. Usually you make it a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna left click on here and hit the edit definition. And then I'm gonna go over to scale. Okay, for that one view, only have that one view selected. And then I can, it defaults to whatever the scale of the rest of the drawing is. If I hit scale here and go to custom, I'm gonna go to 0.5. Okay, and then apply, and then you'll see it. Now, if you don't like the way it looks, you can adjust it again, but that looks good to me. And I'm going to hit okay. All right, so now looks good. Good time to save, right? Good time to save. So I'm going to do a file, save, and I'm going to hit okay. Do you notice anything? And I just noticed it right now. Do you notice anything about my top and my right side views? I don't know why. They came in without the hidden lines. Okay. So I'm gonna click and control and click the other one. And I'm gonna go into, oopsie, here, control here, and I'm gonna edit definition. And for some reason, yeah, it's on no hidden. It should be hidden. I think I just selected the wrong one. There we go. And now my hidden lines are in there. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick save here. Oopsie. Save. You could lock the movement of those again if you wanted to, but I usually wait until I have my dimensions in place and then I'll lock them. They'll only move in orthographic projection. All right. So now that we have our views placed, now we're ready to start adding our annotations. Okay. So if you'll notice that there is a ribbon up on the top, it says annotate. Okay. And this is where we're going to be adding dimensions. Okay. So what we can do is kind of the shortcut to adding our dimensions is if we click on down at the bottom here, the L bracket file name, and we go up to the top here and we say show model annotations. It's going to pull in all of the dimensions from that model, and it's just going to randomly place them. Bless you. So as you can see, they're really not exactly where we want them to be. Some of them are, some of them aren't. Now, to organize this is always going to be your job. I'm going to kind of zoom in here. This is always going to be your job. You're going to have to clean it up. All right. This is as good as it gets. It's going to draw on the part, which we know we can't do. It's going to overlap dimensions, which we know we can't do. It's going to dimension to hidden features, which we know we can't do. Okay. But this is where we're gonna kind of clean things up. So first things first, I want to select the dimensions that I want to keep and then hide the dimensions that I don't want. So for instance, you'll notice that this show model annotations came up, and there's a number of different tabs. The first one that it defaults to is going to be the dimensions. Okay. So you'll notice that as we kind of go over the top here, so this very first one, I'm going to go off of it. Notice these are all dark red right now. As soon as I hover, but I'm not clicking over the top of one of these show dimensions, notice it turns, this is the 60 on the left-hand side there, it turns like an orangish color now, okay? It gives me the opportunity to say, do I want that or not? If I don't want it, I'm not gonna click it, okay? I don't want that dimension, okay? It came in. I'm gonna look to the next one. This is the radius of 10. I do want that one. I don't like how it looks, but I'll fix it up in a little bit. So I'm going to keep that one. I want to keep as many as possible so I don't have to add any. Now notice that once I keep it, I check it, it turns black because that's going to stay after I kind of get rid of this menu. Then I'm going to go down to the next one, the 20. I don't want that one. That's a 20 radius. I don't want that one. So I'm going to go over I'm going to just move by it. The next one that I have is the 60. I want that one. I want the 10. I want the 15, not in the right view, but I do want it. And then there's a little bar here. I can go down. Same thing here. I want the 15. I don't want the 15. I don't want that 15. I want the other 15. Okay. Because I need the one that's going to go with it. I want the 20. I want the 30. That's my next one. I want the 20 down. So you kind of see how I don't want that 30 because that's to the radius, the tangent line. And then this bottom one is this one. Okay. So right now what I've done is anything that's black is going to stick around after I hit OK. All right. Now, before I leave here, actually, I'm going to hit OK right now. We'll hit OK. So now the only ones that are left behind are the dimensions that I wanted there. Okay. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to move these around so that they are going to be in the right format. Now, the book doesn't do this part of it. All right. So I want to kind of fill you in on this. So if you're not paying attention right now, come back to me. All right. So you'll notice that we have this 20, oopsie. Notice that we have the 20. Come on, there we go. We have the 20. So if you left click it, it's going to turn green. If all of them are green, you kind of notice what had happened is they all moved. So when I left click off of something, it unselects it. If I left click once on it, it selects it. And then you can move it where you want to go, like drag it. And then when you let go, it goes where you want it to go. So as we want to duplicate, for instance, the drawing on page 822. All right. So you'll notice that my diameter of 20 is down and to the right here. Okay. So I'm going to place it there. Okay. And that's where I have it. But you'll notice that that dimension does not have the two inner arrowheads on that radius. So if I want to change that dimensioning, I am going to click on it once. I'm sorry. Come on. Click on it once. And you'll notice that up in this menu in the middle, it says flip arrows. I'm going to click that once and notice that it toggles to something else. Sometimes there might be 3 versions of the same thing. You might have to toggle a couple times, but it'll kind of transition through the different ones. Okay. So that's that one. The next one I'm going to do is going to be my 10 millimeter diameter. So I'm going to click off so that the 20 is no longer selected. And then I'm going to left click the diameter of 10 so it becomes green. Okay. Now I want to put this in a different view because right now it's dimensioning to a hidden line and where I don't see that as a circle. So the view that I see it as a circle is in the top view here. So if I go back over the top here, and I left click, here is the symbol for move to view. So I'm going to click on that. And then I just need to click the top view so that it's selected and it's going to move it up there. It's going to move it up there. Okay. And there it is. Now I need to move it where it needs to go. So I'm going to grab onto it and you'll notice that I have my, diameter of 10 goes up and to the right over here, but the arrowheads are not what I want it to be. So I'm going to click off of it again, left click it, and I'm going to cycle through and see flip arrows. Notice that the arrows went to the inside this time. I don't want that. So I'm going to click off, click it again, and do the arrows again. And now the third time, it's the way I want my arrows to be. Okay. So that's the 10. My 15 is here. All right. But you'll notice that it's going to the center. None of my center lines are in place yet. So let's go ahead and add those. So I am going to click on that top. And then I'm going to hold the control for the front and for the right side because I want to add in the center lines for all of them. I'm going to go to show model annotations. The dimensions were there. Now it's going to put the dimensions up here, but don't worry, we don't have these selected. Unless you select these, they're not going to go in. I'm going to go all the way to the right-hand side where it says show model datums. Okay, that's where all of my center lines are. Okay, so you'll notice that all of the center lines populated now. Okay, they're in there. So I'm going to select them all. I'm going to say apply, and you'll see that they've added to all of my views, which is exactly what I want. You can go through and cycle just like we did on the other ones, go over the top of one at a time there, and you can turn on and off those center lines. Okay, you have to have center lines on. All right, so make sure that you add those. So I'm going to hit cancel because they're in. And now this is a big deal. We do not want our dimension lines running into the part. Okay, so on this 15, if you've gone away from me, come back. I'm going to left click it. And what happens is I select this dimension. I'm going to go to the endpoint, and you'll see that endpoint like becomes like a dot. It activates it. I'm going to left click. I'm going to go out, and I'm going to drag, drag, drag. And I need a gap between the end of my dimension and the start of my center line. Do you see that? I'm going to do the same thing down here. Activate that, left click, drag, 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 go off so that there's a gap between the actual part and my dimension line. I'll call you on all of them. That's like nails on the chalkboard with me. All right. So make sure you do these, you correct all these gaps. I'll do that before we leave that, but make sure you do work like that. This 15 dimension needs to be changed to the top view because that is going to the center line of that hole there, not the right view to do it in, because it is not dimensioning to the location of that feature where I see it as a circle, and it's also dimensioning to the center line of a hidden feature, not legal. Okay, so I'm going to left click on that dimension. I'm going to click on move to view, and I'm going to click on the top view, and now it moved it here. Didn't move it where I want it to go, so I'm simply going to go over the top of it, drag it down, left click, release, and then I'm going to activate the endpoint until there's a gap and a gap. Okay. So again, I don't have to place each one of the dimensions, but I've got to clean them all up, right? Same thing over here. You'll notice that the 60, this looks fine. Got a gap. This looks good, but my 20, I don't. So I'm going to left click it. I don't mind where it's at, whether it's on the inside or the outside. That actually does not bother me. And that's there. So you'll notice that for this one, I have the 20 on this side. In the book, oopsie, wrong one. In the book, they have the 20 on this side. If you place the 20 on one side or the other, as long as it's not like hard to see, it's totally fine. All right, so I'm going to leave mine where it's at. Okay. The radius of 10. This one I need to move to a view. So I'm gonna left click it, move to view. I want to go to the right side view over here. Okay. I'm gonna move this out. And now you'll notice that the arrowhead right now is kind of pointing outward. I don't want that. So I'm gonna left click off of it, left click again, and I'm going to flip the arrow. I think there's one other one that it might do. So you might have to do it a couple times to get to it. Okay. And that's my radius of 10. My 30. Now this doesn't have it on the 30, but we do need a dimension for the 30. So I'm going to put that up here closer to the actual feature itself. Now you might say, wouldn't it be okay to put that at the bottom? It's okay, but a better place to put this dimension is going to be closer to where that actually is. So that's why I put the 30 more towards the top. I'm going to left click on it, and I'm going to grab the ends of that dimension so I have a gap. There we go. Okay. Questions so far? You guys doing okay? All right. Now let's compare back to our drawing. You'll notice that we don't have an 80, we don't have a 50, and I don't think we had a 10. Maybe I didn't select it, but we're going to add these 3 dimensions into our part. Okay. So because they didn't come in from the model, we're going to have to actually create them. So on the annotate tab here, we can generate any dimensions we want. And these are going to be a created dimension. So I'm going to click on that. Now, I am going to put the 10 millimeter in first. If you have a single height, for instance, like we do for the thickness here of the 10 millimeters, you can just simply click on it, left click, and then pull it out, and you'll middle mouse button just like you do when you place a dimension for anything else. Okay. Now, when we do the next one, I'm going to do the 80. I'm going to do my dimension. I'm going to left click the top surface here, but then I have to hit Control and I have to left click, and I'm holding Control, left click the bottom, and then go out and middle click here. So you have to hit Control to multiply select different items. Okay. There's my 80, and I'm going to have to do that same process for the 50. So I'm going to click first the left, then I'm going to hold Control, left click, and then go down and middle mouse button to place. Okay. Now here again, I'm going to have to, oh, I have my planes here. I'm going to show you some of these planes. These are coming in from the model. All right. And they're just kind of part of the standard. And what we want to do is we want to get rid of these, and to get rid of them really easily on our toolbar right here, if we go to unselect all of those planes, they're going to go away. Okay. So sometimes they get in the way, sometimes they don't. But in that case, when we were down here, we had all those lines, and those were just representing the planes that are there. So now I'm going to go over the top of that dimension, pull it away so I can see it. Same thing for my 80, left click it, activate it, go where it's starting, and pull it away so that there's a gap. That one is close, but you want to make sure that you can see the gap. So I'm just going to double check. I've got my 15, 15, 10, 20. Okay. The other thing that they didn't do that you do need to do is there are 2 10 diameters. Okay. So in order to change this, I'm going to left click off. I'm going to reselect it. And now what I'm going to do is you'll notice that this menu came up specific to this dimension. So when I look at this dimension, you're going to see that there is dimension text. So I have it selected. This menu comes up. The menu is called, what is the menu called? Hold on, I gotta move this. The menu is called the dimension menu. It's just underneath where I'm at here. And I'm going to click on dimension text and then dimension text. What this does is this allows us to do some customization to the actual note itself. So here is the prefix portion, and then here is the actual dimension. You'll notice that we have a diameter symbol. I'm going to arrow over so I get in front of the diameter symbol, and I'm going to put in 2 by, but the by, the X has to be capital. All letters and notes have to be capital letters on a drawing. Okay. So don't put the small X, because it needs to be the large X, and then put a space and then the diameter symbol, and then it's going to add in the dimension from there. And once we have that done, you'll notice that it shows you a preview of the 2 by, and then you can just click anywhere outside and that goes away. Okay. So now 2 by is there, and you can do that with before, like prefixes and suffixes of the dimensions. Okay. Now, as I look here, I'm just looking one more time. I think we look good. I think we look good. Now, having the scale of 0.5 here up next to our isometric, I don't like it. I think it's information that's on the drawing, that doesn't need to be there. So you can just select it and hit delete and go away. They have it on theirs. If you leave it there, it's not wrong, but it's not needed. All right. Because remember, that view is just there for a pictorial, so you can get a better view of it. So I like to keep off any information we don't need. So this is what we've got. What do you think? Not bad. So now Does anybody have any comments about, was this easier than you would have had to do in AutoCAD? Yeah, Spencer. Oh, my center lines are in here.
I know.
It didn't come up? Oh, you want to know how to put them on? Yeah, let's make sure. I'll go back. If your center lines didn't come in, you do have to put them in, okay? So you will select the view, okay, or all of them. So if you need to put them on all of them, you're going to select one, you're going to hold the control key 2, 3, and then you're going to click on in the annotate tab, show model annotations, okay? You're going to go all the way to the right, and you're going to see then boxes that are open. Is that right? And now you want to select all of those and hit apply or okay. And then they should show up. Yeah, awesome. Okay, they're there. Okay, so a couple of things on here. Number one, you have to move those dimensions around. Even though if somebody says to me, well, that's where Creo put it, remember, you are the person. You're smarter than Creo. You're a human. You are not a machine, all right? You have the brain. So you have to move these. So for instance, we moved the diameter of 10 because we needed to dimension where we see the circle as its true shape as a circle, okay? Second of all, its location. We need to dimension where we see it as a circle so that we're dimensioning to center lines of a visible or an object line feature, okay? Additionally, gaps. You cannot have your dimension lines going into the part the way Creo puts them on. You have to pull those out. Make sure you do that, okay? Same thing with the center lines. Make sure the center lines are in, and also make sure that you have your gaps, okay? That you have your gaps. Now, any questions at the moment? I see, oop, there's some. Where did you do the scale? How do you remove the planes? Okay, I'll do both of those things. Okay, so how did we change our scale? So first of all, if you want to change the scale of the views that are here, the quickest way to do it is going to be the bottom left-hand corner, double click it. And then you can change this. 0.75, I think looks good. I think it came in at 0.5. Okay, so you can change that. That's how you do it for all the views. What was the other question? Oh, how did I get rid of those planes? Right here on this toolbar, right here, all the way to the right-hand side, you select all has them is going to be the default. Just uncheck select all and they go away. Did that answer both of those? Can I select the orientation of the isometric view? No, no, it's set by, you have maybe 1 or 2 options there. It's going to be set by how you created your model. And it's going to be the isometric from the model. Does that make sense, Jeff? So if you did it the right plane, you'll see it the way that we did it here. If you want to change this, if I go into edit definition, there is the opportunity to change this to a trimetric, I think. Oh, wait.
So if you do user define, you can put what angles.
Oh, yeah, you can. Oh, thank you.
For mine.
So if I say 30, I don't know what it is, and 50. Okay, but mine didn't change. Why didn't mine change? Edit definition, type of view, general, standard orientation, user defined. Let me, okay. All right. Maybe you have to pick something here, standard orientation, but then if you go to user defined, I'm just going to leave those in there. Okay. So yeah, maybe great. Thank you, Lex. So, so Jeff, did you kind of, hopefully you're watching and seeing.
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
How do you change the dimensions if the radius is a diameter? Hold on. I think I have an answer for you on that one, Emily. All right. So I think that's there. What if they came in? So for instance, let me see. I don't know if you're on this one, but if I want to change this to a diameter, is that? Or if I want to change it to a radius, it came in as a diameter.
Yeah, I was trying to, well, because I had my dimensions on the wrong spot. So I went to put in the dimensions for the 10-inch diameter circle,
Oh, yeah.
and it was just coming, it kept on coming up as a radius, and then it wasn't letting me change it in the dimension text. So
Okay.
I had to, I think it was hold down the right click, and then I was able to change it because it gives you some options when you hold down the right mouse button.
So you tell me how you did it. The right
Okay, so I
here.
put the dimension down, and it said it was a radius of 5. But then I right clicked and held it,
Mhm.
and then it gave me, I could change it to diameter, radius, angular, or arc length.
Oh,
So
let me try. I'm going to try to make that happen and then right click.
I had to do the
no,
same.
you gotta hold it down like when you're placing the dimension.
Oh, when you're placing the dimension. Oh, there, right?
Well,
So it's dimension here.
no, like
No.
if I went to put down a dimension because there were no dimensions there, and then when
Oh,
it's
okay.
like
So
in
I'll do
gray, yeah,
all right.
and,
Yeah.
and then hold down the right mouse button.
Oh, I think I think I did it too quick. Okay, try again. So if you have to put one in, because yours didn't come in and it goes in as a
Mhm.
radius.
And then
Now right
you
mouse button. Oh, okay. Before you even place it.
yeah, because I tried to put in a diameter of 10 in the the text editing thing, and then
Right.
it wouldn't get rid of the 5 for the radius, so it was like diameter of 105, and it couldn't change that. So, but it's all good now.
Yeah. And then if I wanted to add the before 2 by, let's see. Yeah. Okay. Oh, and then to toggle this to the arrows. Okay, there we go. All right, good. I hadn't done it there. The other place that you can help yourself with that when they come in, radius or diameter, is when you create your model. You know how you can change those at the sketch level. That'll come in based on that as well. Okay, so if you had something in as a diameter and it should be a radius, it'll come in as a radius then when you do the dimensioning, or you have to do the changing around. Okay. All right, good to know. Thank you. Anything else? Any questions or comments as you're working on this one? This is one that you're going to upload. So once you get it in this state where it matches very closely what you see on 822, this is going to be your screen capture for the tutorial assignment. So if we go to module number 4, okay, module number 4, assignment number 6 is the tutorial drawings. There's just 2. This is the first one. Okay, this is the first one. So if you click on this one is going to be the L bracket detail drawing on a plain A border. Okay, that's going to be the screenshot that you can upload for that one. Okay, now the pulley I'm actually going to demonstrate the next time we're together, because there's more there. There's creating a section view there and stuff like that. What I want you to do is the assignment that I have for you. I go back to the module here. The assignment that I have for you in the application drawings, you should be able to do at least a lot of all of these drawings based on what we looked at this evening. Okay, so instead of me going on to the second one here, what I'd rather you do is practice what we just learned tonight, putting the dimensions down, pulling in that plain A border, and using the guides that we have down here to place those dimensions. Okay, to place those dimensions. Now, these weren't done in Creo, these were done in AutoCAD. All right, but the placement of the dimensions is going to be how you're going to do it per the ANSI standards. Additionally, you're going to add up in the upper right hand corner an isometric view. Okay, just like we did. I want you to do that. You have it, why not use it? It always adds clarity to a drawing, especially for people who might not know as much as you do. Okay, and be able to do the visualization. So having that up in there is always a great idea somewhere on the drawing. Okay, so I'm going to ask everybody to just, I want to grab your attention here so that you can start working. The rest of the evening is going to be working time to work on the application drawings. And I'm going to click back there one more time. The first 7 here are models you've already created. All right. These are models you've already created. They're from assignment 3. Okay. So if you wanted to go back and look at the handout and see all the drawings or all of the like isometric views that you used, that's where you're going to go. Okay. And I picked those on purpose. Can I have your attention, please? Who's ever clicking? I picked those on purpose so that you wouldn't have to recreate the models again because you've got them done. Now it's just doing the drawings. So what you need to do is you're not going to be pulling any fancy border in. You're going to use just the border that we used tonight, a size border for everything. I'll wait until this can take forever. I don't want to hear any clicking anymore. Okay. So I want you to use the plain a size border, bring those in. You're going to have to adjust your scale of your view so that it kind of fills it up nicely. I don't want super small and say, oh, that's how Creo brought it in. No. You need to adjust it to kind of fill it up, make it proportional, but not too big that you can't get your dimensions in. Okay. But then you can always adjust the scale back again if you need to. All right. So make sure that you have it proportionally nice. I don't want the views all at the inside and then trying to fit all the dimensions in. No, in this little box, fill up the space. All right. And make it look proportional. What's nice also about Creo, you notice that we didn't have to mess around with the size of the letters and the font and all that kind of stuff. Amen. Right? Thank goodness. So, so that's what's nice about that too. And if you adjust that scale, that'll automatically adjust for you as well. So you don't have to mess with that. Use the guides. All right. So here too, if you're wondering what dimensions do I put here? Now, if you move one to a different view, but it seems to make sense, that's totally fine. It doesn't have to be exact, but know that what's here abides by the dimensioning standard and it's developing good habits. All right. I think that's all that I have for you. I think so. I'm trying to think. So, so I encourage you to actually work on the application problem or the application drawings tonight before going too far. Nobody really got a chance to do this yet, I also encourage you to read through the beginning of the chapter. I know that sounds or might be like taboo for a lot of you, like, I'm not going to read the textbook. I really encourage you to do that. I didn't hit each and every detail. You will pick up some things by going through that process and pulling up those drawings that they were talking about. You'll be learning some things about the connectivity of things, and that's really important. Okay. So take the time to do that. Any questions before I kind of let you loose? Okay. All right. I think it's fun. I think you're all excited to look at it. Actually, I would be. All right. I'm going to let you go.